Hello, Home Slices. It's Kira with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with my review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 1, Episode 10. What's the title of this episode? This episode is titled, Don't Call It a Comeback. Okay, so, speaking of comeback, that's mostly what the beginning of this episode is about. So first off, thank you for clicking on this video. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone who you think will enjoy it. My last two videos about Love and Marriage Huntsville were almost 40 minutes. So I'm going to try to be more succinct this time around, as I am multitasking. As you can see here, half of my hair is blown out and the other half is not. So I am getting my hair braided today, and because I have such wild thick hair, I need to prep my hair before it gets braided so that the braider doesn't have to deal with it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm multitasking, watching the episode while I am doing my hair as well. So that's why I look like this. So anyways, we get started with the comeback group having a meeting. Well, actually, Maurice and Kimmy are sitting down having a conversation about it. They all have a meeting at one of the houses that the Holtz were, building that was supposed to be a part of the comeback group that no longer is. And the conversation gets started with the men and how Maurice is kind of, trying to be a peacekeeper, and is saying, there are personal attacks that have been going on, and it got personal. And like Maurice said, the meeting needs to have an agenda because it's always personal with them. It's never just business. And so they come into the house. Melody comes into the house and kind of tells them, okay, let's stay away from the personal stuff. Let's get into business. So finally, everyone is all there. At the end of the day, we can summarize what happened in the meeting in like three ways. The number one thing is that they really didn't get anywhere, as always. So that's the overarching thing of the comeback group, is that they really don't get anything accomplished in the meetings. Number two is that there is a personal issue between Martell and Marsau, because Martell, I feel like it is the worst thing in the world to be caught up in something and to take the focus off of yourself. You claim that somebody else is doing the same thing that you were doing. And you're upset because maybe the thing that y'all were doing, the thing that you were doing, the other person was getting away with, or had was in it more deeply than you were. I mean, if Marsau was cheating, which is not far-fetched, considering what we know about him, it's believable, I'll say. And Martell claims that Marsau did it so flagrantly and with so many women. And Martell's argument is that he cheated with one woman for like 2 or 3 years, and Martell over the past 4 years has cheated with 20 women. And I guess trying to compare one is worse versus the other. And according to Martell, he was hanging around people who were cheating, and that's what got him into cheating. So I think that he was talking about Marsau. Now, if y'all remember, when Martell finally brought this to light on television, that Marsau had cheated with 20 women, when he said that, he said y'all were cheating, which means more than Marsau. So I think that it was reasonable for Marsau to think that Martell was talking about Marsau and Maurice. I think I questioned that in my last review anyway. When he said y'all, who was he talking about? Was he including Maurice or not? So when Marsau brought up in this meeting where he said, you accused me and Maurice of cheating with 20 women, I think that it was reasonable for him to make that assumption because Martell said y'all instead of just you to Marsau. But then Martell is like, I didn't say anything about Maurice. Now you're lying. So I think that was just a misunderstanding, whatever. And I think the third thing is that the Scotts, all four of them, Marsau, Maurice, Kimmy, and Tisha, all want to continue the comeback group without the Holts. The Holts are resisting and are saying, if you all are going to buy us out, it needs to be to the tune of like $1 million, which is odd because I feel like the Holts are the ones who kind of got the best end of the deal and kind of left the other four in the dust. So, I mean, I agree with Tisha that they come off as very kind of self-serving, and that the stuff that they were supposed to do with the comeback group eventually became things that the Holts did on their own. So the Holts are profiting off of the 47 acres of land. The Holts are profiting over the 2 houses that the comeback group was supposed to do. To me, the Holts have already gotten all that they need to get from the comeback group, because the deals that were brought to the comeback group became just the Holts thing. So that's where your $1 million is at. That's where your millions of dollars is at. Is the fact that the comeback group brought an opportunity for the comeback group and you took advantage of it and you moved on it yourself. That is what you take from the comeback group. You sign the papers so they can buy you out and you move on. The fact that they are asking them to dissolve the group and then come back together with something is just silly. And it feels a lot more pride driven or something like that, as opposed to actually like a legit business deal. Let them buy you out. You have already profited off of, from what we know on this show, from 2 major deals, 47 acres. How many houses can you build on 47 acres? Houses, don't really be on a whole acre anymore. So you could probably fit 2 or 3 houses on an acre. That's 125 houses that you can build, or you could sell the land to a developer. I don't know. There's a bunch of things. I'm not that well versed in real estate, but I know quite a bit about business. And the fact that the comeback group has given the Holts all of these opportunities, I feel like is reason enough for them to just sign off and say, well, we've gotten everything that we can get out of this deal. We're going to leave the group, allow you all to continue on with the comeback group. And I think there might be something to what Tisha is saying. Every time they do something, it's the Holts. That's who they promote. And I don't know that they talk about the comeback group as much as they should. And I wonder why they're trying to keep it all together. I know they had really good intentions about like revitalizing their community and all that, but I'm under the impression that the comeback group was like a legitimate or an actual reason for them getting this show. And I think their disagreements on the show are about the comeback group. I feel like could easily be resolved, but I think that the comeback group might have been a big part of why they got the show in the first place. But anyways, after that meeting happens, we see Tisha ask Marsau, why were you so quiet in there when we had this disagreement? Marcel was like, I don't have to defend myself to him, and Tisha is smart enough. I don't give Tisha much credit, particularly regarding the way that she kind of started off on the show, but I will say that she's starting to make more sense now. I think that Tisha was right to ask him if there was any truth to what was going on. I think that she wants to believe that her husband was faithful to her. And, he might have been. I don't know. We don't know. But the fact that he was so reluctant to answer the question makes me feel like he's guilty. He was so reluctant to answer the question and was doing that, grandstanding. What's the word I'm looking for? Where somebody tries to make you think you're crazy. Gaslighting. Yeah. Gaslighting and making it seem like she's the crazy one for asking if there's any legitimacy to the rumors. No, she's right to ask questions, okay? So, I will come back to you all with the next part of the show that I watched. All right, now we're back and we see Martell having a heart-to-heart with his favorite uncle, whose name I have already forgotten. But his uncle is, there's something beautiful about seeing black men had positive black role models and being able to have these type of conversations with each other. There's a popular YouTuber, many of you all might know who he is. His name is Funky Dineva, and there is one thing that he continuously says about his experience with as being a black man, observing like a barbershop talk among other black men, that whenever a man is cheating on his, wife, girlfriend, or whatever, other black men do not hold him accountable for his actions. They pat him on the back for being such a player, such a pimp, whatever you want to call it. And it is interesting to see that in these instances on this show, there are two black men, the counselor. No, there are more than two. There's the counselor, there's Martell's friend Neville, and now his uncle, that are telling him, okay, you need to stop. Now, who knows what they were saying when he began this relationship? Did they tell him he needed to stop before he got caught? I don't know. But the point is that now that they are telling him that he needs to make sure that he does right by his wife and his family. And I think it's beautiful to see that. He has still only gone to counseling once. And it's weird. He said something weird, and he's like, okay, there's an African American counselor that I'm going to. I only been to him once, but he did some really good work making me realize who I was. And I think that he can help me get past this thing. He's like a father figure. And I'm like, I don't know. It feels like he has formed this relational attachment to this counselor that he's going to after going to that counselor for one time. I don't know that is healthy. Feels weird, and it's kind of hard to explain. But it sounds like he is making it the counselor's responsibility to get him out of this situation that he got himself into. And I don't know that that's the right thing to do, that he needs to rely on himself to get himself out of the situation that he put himself in. But anyways, it was great to see him have, a positive role model in his life to kind of help him get to where he needed to go. And I feel like it would be very hard for Mel to watch the show and hear Martell say, we talked for 2 years, we formed a friendship, and it's very hard to write this person off. Like, how hurtful is that for you to hear that basically your husband fell in love with somebody else and has a really hard time of getting them out, their system. Poor Mel, y'all. All right, y'all, real quick. So we are back, and we see Letitia talking to her mother on the phone. Sorry, y'all. We see Tisha talking to her mother on the phone, telling her about the rumors that came out about Marsau. Interestingly enough, in the confessional, Tisha said that her mom would be the one that would get Marsau straight. And then her mom tells her that she needs to get her own husband straight. Thank you, okay? Like, it's one thing for your mom to have your back. It's one thing for your mom to do your dirty work for you. So anyways, they have a quick conversation about that. And the number 37 comes up. She tells her mom that Marsau was accused of having 20 to 37 girlfriends. This is the first time I'm hearing anything about that. Y'all ever played the game Telephone? Where, like, you go from, you whisper from one person and that person whispers to another person a phrase. And once you get to the end, you see how convoluted the phrase is and how it's, like, nowhere near what the phrase was originally. That's how it's getting. That's how rumors spread. You say the rumor to somebody else and then you sprinkle a little a little exaggeration on it. Okay. So anyways, moving on, we see Martell and Mel once again putting on a show, y'all. This is so weird because just last week they were talking about how it's so important for us to put on a show in front of our kids and make them think that everything that is going on is normal. You don't think that they realize that daddy is sleeping next door instead of down in the main bedroom with mommy. They know that. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is Mel is brushing her daughter's hair, and he's like telling her, okay, we need to come on, pushing it. And she looks at him like, you better back off. She wasn't nowhere near done with her daughter's hair, so I know it's going to take a while. But when he's asking her, oh, do we want to take the same car? And she's ignoring him. And it's like, okay, the daughter is right there. The children have to know that something is going on. So that's the problem that I have with the argument that you need to keep the disagreements. You need to keep away from your children the times that you all are fighting. And I think there's a difference between, okay, an isolated fight and your marriage being on the rocks, which is what their marriage is right now, over something that's been going on for years. And I think that it could be, and again, I'm not a parent, so I feel very cautious about saying this. It could be normalizing to the children that there is contention in the household. There's a difference between, okay, we got into a fight last night, we resolved it, we made up. That's one thing. It's another thing for your marriage to be on the rocks for a number of years. Then you pretend in front of your children that everything is okay. But then on a day like today, when y'all are trying to rush to get out the house to go to an event and pretend like y'all one big happy family, and then in front of the children, you are clearly not talking to each other. Martell is talking to her at the banquet table, and she's not saying nothing to him. She's ignoring him. What are they communicating to the children? They can pretend all the time and pretend that they're at the dinner table together like they're one big happy family, but at the end of the night, when Martell goes upstairs to go to bed with the kids instead of being downstairs on the main master with his wife, or while she's talking to her husband, and while her husband's talking to her and she's not talking back and she is ignoring him, either you're gonna pretend that your family is okay all the time, or you're going to show them the real and that y'all not doing it. Like, I don't understand how it's back and forth. On one hand, y'all pretend and play like y'all playing house. Everything is all good. Everything is all happy. And then on the other end, you ignore him when he's talking to you. You disregard him when he asks you if you want to go to the same car. You're confusing the children. Are you one big happy family, or are mommy and daddy fighting? Again, I don't have all the answers. I don't feel like it's right to pretend in front of your kids that everything is all right. And I also don't believe that you get them involved 100% in what you're going on. But where is the happy medium? Where is the medium between we're keeping the kids out of the details of our fight, but we're also going to show our kids that disagreements happen and here's a positive way to deal with them? Melody, it's great that she's being honored. I feel like when I grow up and I start doing things in business and people want to honor me for things or give awards or, recognition, I feel like I want to turn that down. And it's not about me just like wanting the attention to be off of me, because I love accolades. Okay. but how much money did it cost for them to put on that banquet, for them to rent the hall that they were in, the linens, the napkins, buying the actual award? However much money they spent on putting that event together could have been put back into the Boys and Girls Club. That's why I really don't understand these banquets that cost thousands of dollars to put together that could actually go towards a cause. But at the end of the day, they honored her, which I think is great. She's doing work in her community. I think that's great as well. Her children were there to see her receive that award. I think that was great. She talked about, how she didn't go to a Boys and Girls Club in the small town that she was from, but how it's impacting the children's lives and making sure that you're giving back to others. So overall, I think that she did a good job of speaking. I feel like she is not able to fake the funk anymore, even in front of her children. And it's so interesting that she says she's not checking for him. She's not talking to him because she's not checking for him. And then, we know that she's pregnant. by her husband. At one point, did she stop checking for him and started letting him sleep with her unprotected? I don't know, y'all. This is confusing for me. I know it's confusing for the kids. What's up? I'm back, y'all, with the new do. Okay, so I went and got my hair braided. I wasn't able to finish the episode before I left to get my hair braided, but I'm finishing it up now. Okay, that explains why my hair is completely different from the beginning of this review to the end. So anyways, y'all, now we see how Sidaric plays into this whole thing. And my second impression of Sidaric is that I don't like him. Sidaric is either taking instruction from the producers of this show to insert himself in areas where he doesn't need to insert himself, or Sidaric is just an interfering ass nigga. You like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, something about Sidaric comes off as if he's just planning on inserting himself in places where he's not supposed to be. I understand that they are trying to, and that they want to integrate another couple, which I think is good. Get a fourth story or something. But Sidaric's personality is like abrasive to me, and I don't know if that's a personal thing, just because he comes off very curt and snippy, and the fact that he kind of spread to Marsau what Martell felt about Marsau, or I don't know. Well, I wouldn't say I'm always a super good judge of character. I have very high, very high empathy, very high emotional intelligence. And something about Sidaric is off-putting to me. I thought it was weird that he talked about how he, basically Kimmy was into him, but Maurice got him first in front of his wife. I thought that was a little weird. Sidaric, I don't know. It felt like he was trying to insert himself in the middle of that relationship or in the middle of the friendship between Martell and Marsau. Not saying that they're not mutual friends or anything. But it's just something about him I'm not very thrilled about. We'll see how this whole cabin thing goes. I wonder how close the cabin is to another one. Because if you kill somebody out there in the cabin in the woods and you bury him, chances are they might not ever be found. So hopefully things go right at the cabin. All right, what's up, y'all? So it's the next day. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get that last part. My last little bitty part of my review done on yesterday. And I'm just like really over it. But I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible. So I'm just going to finish it up while I'm on my way home from work on this interesting Monday. So, at the end of the episode, we see that Tisha and Melody hook up to try to kind of hash out the things that clearly have been impacting their relationship. We saw when they all met up earlier in the episode, when all of the comeback group met up together, that there was particularly some tension between Tisha and Melody. And they're trying to hash it out at this coffee shop. So they sit down and y'all, I'm just kind of annoyed with them. And I think my frustration is more so with Melody than Tisha. I have never really seen it for Tisha personally. I don't necessarily care for her, and I think that we have to put up with her because she's married to one of the main characters. That's what it feels like to me, as opposed to her kind of having her own type of story or whatever. And while I don't really care for Tisha, I will say that I'm kind of on her side when it comes to Mel. I think that Mel is, I don't know what word I would use to describe her. I think she should be ashamed of herself for not being understanding of Tisha's concerns. And, you know, we only know a piece of these people's lives, but I don't think it's fair that she called Tisha a victim, per se. I also think it's weird that they equate friendship with, like, text messages. If you're really friends with somebody, checking in on them might warrant a little more than a text message. I think it is weird and hypocritical of Mel to say to Tisha, well, you'll find out on your own how unfaithful your husband has been and when he's out at bars late at night and whatnot. And Tisha said, if you just went through this and you know how it feels and you've experienced what it's like for your husband to be unfaithful to you, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you say something to me before putting it on freaking social media? As understanding as I want to be of Mel because of the situation that her husband has put her in, she just comes off as just not really being a good person. When it comes to her marriage, she's clearly the person that's in the right. But when it comes to her relationships with the other women in the group, Mel is not right. I really don't understand what's going on with her and why her and Tisha have so much contention going on between them. And I think Tisha was absolutely right. Mel really isn't her friend, and all that jazz. I really don't see it for them ever really being true friends. I think that Mel kind of looks down at Tisha a little bit, perhaps. I think that in addition to Martell being the person he is, you know, feeling the need to snitch on Marsau, I think Mel kind of has the same thing going with Tisha. In the same way that Martell was like, well, I wasn't the only one cheating. Let's, you know, put Tisha and Marsau's mess out there. Mel is the kind of the same way and saying, well, I didn't find out till later that my husband was cheating, so let's wait for Tisha to find out the same way. And just not being the bigger person. Like, why wouldn't you just tell a person whose husband you knew was messing up? Why wouldn't you give them the benefit that you didn't have? And Mel was saying, well, you're not going to believe what I would say anyway. And while that might be true, the only thing that you can really do for somebody in this situation is tell them the truth. Tell them what you know or what you think you know or how you know it. And what they do with that is on them. It doesn't come off to, like, for me, it feels like when people withhold information from other people, a lot of times it's to preserve their feelings. And to me, Mel doesn't really have any warm friendship feelings for Tisha to try to protect. So why not tell Tisha? And whether she believed you or not is not the point. The point is that you said what you needed to say. You provided them with some information that you think they should have. And what they do with it is up to them. You've done your part as this person's friend. I mean, just woman to woman, knowing what she went through, you would think she would be a little bit more sympathetic if indeed Marsau is cheating on her. Which I believe he might have, you know. But anyways, y'all, I'm over it. I'm just over this day. I'm not necessarily over Love and Marriage Huntsville. I feel like we're seeing this ugly side of Mel. And, yeah, I just don't like it. Yeah. But anyways, thank you all for watching. It's taken me over the course of like 3 different days to try to finish this, or 2 different days to try to finish this review. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out, home slices.